Making big decisions can be a nightmare even when the environment is favourable to make them. But making a decision in the middle of a huge project and then effectively changing the direction for everyone who's already invested so much time and energy, well, that's a nightmare on steroids. As leaders, that's when we really earn our money. It's also when we're most likely to question if all the extra money is really worth it. When I was a principal, I was often called upon to change my mind in the middle of a project. Sometimes it was for financial reasons and the budget just simply wasn't going to go as far as I had initially expected. Sometimes it was because the personnel working on the project had changed, or worse still, the dynamics of the personnel working on the project had changed. Sometimes it was because new information had arisen and it no longer made any sense to continue with a particular direction. Over time, I decided that to save myself from any mid-project angst, the safest course of action was to constantly review the project as we went. This involved making sure that everyone on the team had all of the information they needed, always. Transparency was the key. Nothing was ever kept hidden. This meant that if there were any unpleasant things coming up, that chances are they were never surprises. No one likes bad surprises, and there are even some people out there who feel uncomfortable with any type of surprise, full stop. So it's important to make sure that everyone on the team has a sense of where the project is at any given time. It was very rarely only me making the decision when I needed to make big changes of direction in my schools. Yep, it was up to me as the boss to make the final call, but I always spend a lot of time gathering information and support from my team, letting them know and understand any concerns that I might have before I made the big move. This way there was never any really big, nasty surprises. Yes, there were still disappointments and sometimes people feeling put out or aggrieved, but overall my people on my team could see when change needed to occur. The real problem, of course, isn't the decision to change itself, but the amount of energy needed to make that change. For some institutions, making changes midstream is a little bit like trying to turn an aircraft carrier around. It takes heaps of time and you need a heap of space. For other institutions, making changes midstream is a bit like flying a plane while you're building it, even though it might feel just a little bit scary 20,000 feet up in the air. In this scenario, you still get a sense that there's a flexibility in what you're doing, and there's a certain nimbleness in what you're trying to achieve. Being open and adding a dash of flexibility throughout the process will ultimately make things much easier if you need to make changes. Hi everyone, it's my pleasure to bring you this leadership module. Today we're talking about the fact that it's actually okay to change your mind and why it's important as a leader that you keep that securely in your thought processes. It's okay to change your mind. Winston Churchill's quote, "To improve is to change, to be perfect is to change often," resonates greatly with me. There have been plenty of times in my career when changing course midstream has been the best way forward. A great place to start is cultivating an understanding about this thing called change. Change itself is a constant force that shapes our lives, often challenging us to adapt, grow, and embrace the unknown. It carries the potential for progress, renewal, and transformation even when it feels daunting at first. Changing direction midstream is tough because it means reevaluating all the work that you've already done, addressing sunk costs, sunk energies, sunk ideas, and potentially facing resistance from team members. It disrupts momentum and requires quick adaptation, which can be challenging under tight deadlines. However, it's often essential for project success because clinging to a failing approach wastes resources and risks the entire project's goals. A midstream course correction can refocus efforts on what truly matters and can salvage success. As a leader, you get to decide when things need to change. Thoughtful leadership turns midstream change into a chance for team development by reframing it as a collective challenge to overcome, not as a setback. Leaders who stay transparent about the reasons for the shift and outline the new direction build trust and clarity in their teams. By involving everyone in the problem solving and the decision making, they encourage ownership and collaboration. This process helps the individuals strengthen their problem-solving skills and fosters a culture of resilience, turning disruption into a valuable growth experience. When leaders change their mind, trust building becomes crucial because it reassures the team that the shift is thoughtful, not impulsive. By being transparent about why the change is happening and openly acknowledging any missteps, leaders show accountability and integrity. Involving the team in the adjustment process further demonstrates respect for their input and strengthens collaboration. Building trust during these moments helps maintain morale, ensures alignment, and turns what could feel like instability into a shared effort towards success. The emotional impact on your team can't be underestimated. Actually, the emotional impact on yourself can't be underestimated. Changing your mind takes energy, it does take a toll. But you can do well by learning not to align yourself too strongly with any decision that you make. Be light on your feet instead. Be prepared to change if new information shows that it's the best way forward. There's no doubt that changing your mind midstream is likely to have an effect on your team's feelings. When a leader changes ideas midstream, teams often feel confused, frustrated, and even a bit disheartened. They may worry that their hard work has been wasted or question their leader's ability to make sound decisions. Some might feel overwhelmed by the need to adapt quickly, while others might struggle with trust, fearing more unpredictable changes ahead. These emotions can create tension and can also diminish morale, especially if communication around the change is unclear or the reasoning feels unjustified. It's a challenging moment that requires thoughtful leadership to address and ease these frustrations. It can be an uncomfortable time for you as a leader. That doesn't mean, though, that your decision-making isn't right or that you shouldn't go ahead with the change. Finding ways to keep your team involved in the decision-making process can help greatly in keeping the momentum from stalling. If everyone has all the information necessary, then chances are they'll also see the need for the change. They might even come to you first with reasons why change is necessary. On the whole, people want things to work out for the best. If they can see what's happened, understand why it's happened, and have a grasp of everything that's occurred, then things don't need to be too dire. So how do we go about explaining ourselves? Well, the first part is the tricky part, extracting yourself from explaining yourself and defining it more as explaining the need for change. Take the you out of the equation. With your team, define the reasons. Look at the types of issues that would arise from keeping on the current path or that would arise from the change. And as I've already said, keep your team up to date with all the information that you have. Make the decision together is the best way forward. That way, the ownership of the decision is shared, along with the positive consequences. It's the same for when you take the next steps in your change of direction. Again, it's not your change, it's the team's change. Everyone owns it. As you step your way down the new path, take time to be transparent, assess the impact of what's going on, continue to gather all the information you can, and remain flexible. You might have to pivot again. Be prepared to do this. So what does your leadership look like during this change? Well, once a midstream change has occurred, leadership should prioritize clarity, accountability, and support. Leaders need to clearly communicate the reasons behind the shift and articulate the new direction to align their teams. You have to take ownership of the change, even though your team may have made the decision with you, acknowledging its impact and addressing any concerns openly. Providing guidance, resources, and encouragement is essential to help the team adapt and regain momentum. Strong leadership in this phase focuses on rebuilding trust. It's all about the people. Maintaining morale. It's all about the people. And turning uncertainty into a shared commitment to success. It's all about the people. And let's face it, no matter what you decide, and with whom, there's always going to be the possibility of resistance to the change. It's almost guaranteed. There'll always be someone or some people who are anti about what has occurred. The best way forward is to expect this to happen. In order to positively mitigate resistance during midstream changes, leaders should focus on proactive communication and empathy. Clearly explain the reasons for the change, showing how it aligns with the team's goals, and actively listen to concerns without dismissing them. Involve the team in planning the next steps, giving them a sense of ownership and control. Acknowledge the challenges and validate their frustrations while also highlighting opportunities for growth and success. By fostering this transparency, this collaboration and support, leaders can turn resistance into a shared commitment to moving forward. Okay, so let's look at some useful tools to help work out if you need to change your mind on something or not. Firstly, there's the good old pros and cons list. List all the points on a pros and cons sheet of paper, give each point a value, and once you've completed, add up the values and see which side has the more points. Choose the side with the highest points. The cost-benefit analysis is similar. Cost-benefit analysis is a straightforward process of weighing the pros and cons of a decision. It involves identifying all the potential costs like time, money, effort, and the benefits, revenue, efficiency, outcomes, and then comparing them to determine if the benefits outweigh the costs. This approach helps in making informed choices by focusing on overall value and feasibility. My personal favourite though is the 5 ways technique. It reminds me of a 4-year-old who always asks why, and it's incredibly insightful. The 5 ways technique helps decision making by digging deeper into the root cause of the problem in the first place. Start with the issue at hand and ask why 5 times, each time addressing the answer from the previous question. This process uncovers underlying factors that may not immediately be obvious and helps identify effective solutions. It's simple but powerful for understanding and solving complex problems. Okay, so we're almost there. Let's take a little time to reflect on what we've learnt. When you're about to make a change, don't veer away from it. Instead, consider how transparency can help you during the decision process. Take a look-see at both making the change and not making the change. Think about how the decision will impact everything that you're trying to achieve as a team. Take some time to think about how your team will benefit from the changes that you're considering about making. Finally, don't stress on it too much. It's actually okay to change your mind. And remember this great quote from Lisa Bedell. Change cannot be put on people. The best way to instill change is to do it with them. Create it with them.